Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So I was out for a drive and I had to stop at this beautiful place. Great brand new blacktop with some really nice new concrete, beautiful warehouse over here, and it just kind of sets for a really cool, I don't want to say photo shoot, but just, I don't know, I love the backdrop. And I'm having one of those moments where I'm just like, holy I can't believe this car is mine. I was having an absolute blast driving around, having fun, and this car is just exceeding my expectations far and above than I ever imagined. This thing has been incredible. I love where I have gone with this car, and there's just so much more. I mean, this is a very OEM plus looking stage of the car, but it's about to get a lot more fun. I am honestly not even sure what this video is about yet. I just wanted to get out and kind of share this moment with you guys because I don't know, I'm feeling very grateful, and I'm absolutely loving this car. So all right, I'm gonna head back in the car. We'll go back to the garage and we'll do some more mods. We are about to dive into something that I have been anticipating doing for a very long time. I've had this sitting for almost 3 months now, and I cannot wait to install it. I simply just wanted to wait till I got a lot of the little stuff done and then kind of move on to the bigger projects. And now that we finally kind of got through the phase one of all the little things in the engine bay and all that, we are going to get started on the exhaust. So the S55, we all know, is not the best sounding motor in the world. However, I do believe it can sound very good. And thankfully, with a lot of aftermarket options, a lot of aftermarket companies, they have come out with some great solutions. Now, the S55 completely stock sounds very quiet. It almost sounds like a vacuum cleaner. And also, it's not everybody's favorite sounding M motor. It sounds a little raspy with the valves and everything. It could sound a little kind of funky, but there is some great solutions. And one of the solutions is by Autowerke. They came up with a couple different solutions for the S55. Now, in order to get rid of the raspy, kind of rattly sound, they came up with a funky looking exhaust called the equal length midpipe. A lot of people often refer to that midpipe as the spaghetti midpipe, the worm midpipe. The reason why they had to make one of the pipes all squiggly like that is because they needed to make each pipe equal length in order for it to sound better. For this one, the midpipe is the reason why this sounds a little funky. Also, this midpipe has a lot of resonators on here, so replacing just the midpipe really changes the overall tone, sound, volume of this car. So I didn't go with the equal length midpipe because I heard it sounds pretty high pitched. It does sound good, but I like a deeper tone. So Autowerke was like, okay, I understand people don't really like the higher pitch tone, so let's come out with something different. So they came out with this. This is the Autowerke single midpipe. So basically, it's just replacing the midpipe on the S55. It's taking out the resonators and it's going into one single pipe as opposed to two. So what this does is actually brings all that rasp and takes it away, gives it a really deep tone, increases the volume like tenfold. It's insane how much louder this car is with this midpipe on here. It sounds phenomenal. A buddy of mine actually has this installed on his competition F80 M3, and he started it up for me, and I was blown away about how loud and how good it sounded just from this midpipe. So the overall quality, craftsmanship, everything about this midpipe is phenomenal. The material used, the stainless steel, is beautiful. All of the welds are phenomenal. Just the overall design and everything is very nice. It includes everything that you need to install. On the older model, they didn't include this as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. This is the actual brace that goes across the midpipe, kind of in the midsection here. There is one on the car right now. It's the stock brace, but they started to include their own. So that is a really nice touch, and I'm glad that they did that. So you don't have to worry about installing the stock one. And I believe this has a little bit more clearance as well, so you don't run into rattling issues. You get all the clamps you need to attach everything. It is very simple. But the most, I don't want to say challenging, but the biggest part about installing this is you need to actually cut the OEM muffler away from the stock midpipe. The way this works, the muffler and the midpipe are all one piece. All the way up into the downpipes, it's literally one big exhaust. So what we actually need to do is cut the OEM muffler off and install this. Now the downpipe section just has a normal flange connection, so that's very easy and very simple. But the connection to the actual muffler, you need to actually make a cut. It's pretty simple. I'll show you where to cut. They lay it out nicely for you, but you do need some type of saw. I'm using this reciprocating saw with a good thick metal blade on there, so we're gonna be able to get this knocked out very quickly, very easily. I guess that is the most nerve-wracking part about this whole install. So enough talk, enough chatter. Let's go ahead, let's get to installing the Act Up Autowerks single mid-pipe, and let's see how this thing sounds. All right, so we got the car on jack stands. I got one there, and I have one in the rear on the little jack point over there that a lot of people say they use. And I also have the jack there for extra support. So now what we actually have to do is do the cut first. The most nerve-wracking part is the first thing you actually need to do. So if we go underneath where the muffler is, you can see there's actually some weld points. So there's a weld there and also a weld on the other side right there. You're actually going to measure 1.5 inches back from the weld, and that is where you're going to make your cut. So let me go ahead and do that, get that all situated. I'm gonna measure it like 15 times, make sure it's all good, and then we can go ahead and make the cut. But let me first kind of make sure everything's ready to go, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, so I went ahead and I measured out 1.5 inches from this weld. I also did it on the other side. So what you do is you measure 1.5 inches from that weld, and then they say to use a C-clamp, one of these hose clamps, wrap it around so you can do a nice straight line and just remove it when you cut. But if you can see, we are exactly 1.5 inches from the weld, so we are good to go. But yeah, there's my line on that side. I did it all the way around as best as I could so I can have a nice straight line. Now comes the nerve-wracking part and making sure you're cutting this straight. You could also take this muffler off of the car if you want to, but everybody does it on the car and there's plenty of room on top. So let's go ahead and take this clamp off and make our cuts. All right, cuts have been made, a little nerve-wracking. Did it as straight as I possibly could. So we are good there. So now we're actually gonna move to the front by the downpipes and unbolt those 11 millimeters. I believe the instructions say 13, but they're actually 11. So I'll confirm once I get up there, but let's start unbolting. So we are at the front of the car. This is where the downpipe connection is. A little rusty on the bottom bolts, but I sprayed some PB Blaster on there. Go let it soak for a little bit, and then we can go ahead and use the 11 millimeter to get this off. Hopefully you don't have any issues. I don't think I should. Cross your fingers. Let's get this done. All right, so I got all the bolts off. The ones on the top, so that one and that one are hard to get to, but if you have an extension with a swivel joint, that is the best way to do it. I found that using this, I was using a 1/2 inch drive just to give me extra leverage, and it came off no problem. So I got all 4 off. Everything is good. A little rusted. I'm gonna see if I have some new 11 millimeters. Probably don't, because 11 is kind of uncommon. But yeah, so that is what you need for the top ones. Just something with a swivel like that to get the job done. So now we're actually gonna move on to, sorry, the light's in the way. We're gonna move on to this brace. I'm working with limited space here, so bear with me. This brace right here that attaches, we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm pretty sure they are 6 millimeters. So let's go ahead, take that brace off. Then we can kind of work our way down, take off all the hangers, and be able to drop the exhaust, and we'll be good. So let's get that brace off. All right, so we got that center brace off. Now we're gonna have to remove the hangers. There's one up front here and then 2 in the back. So they actually said support the exhaust so it doesn't fall on your face. Use a jack or something, a box, and do the gray hanger first by the trans, and then the 2 red ones out back. So let's get this one off, slide it off the studs of the downpipe, and then we can move to the back and get this thing out. All right, so that right there is one of the bolts we need to remove for the front hanger. It's actually a 5/16 socket. Sorry, I can't get it focused under here, but that is what you're gonna use to unbolt that one. Then there's one on the other side of the hanger right there, and that hanger will be removed. All right, so now we are at the back of the car. We're gonna remove that red hanger. There's another one on the other side. Same format, just unloosen the actual bracket. We're not gonna take it off the actual hanger until we have it off the car. But once we remove those, we'll be able to slide this out and get this off the car. So this one I'm about to do is an 8mm. And then this one right here is a 13mm. All right, so the hanger on the driver's side is only a 13mm, and as soon as you remove that, the exhaust drops down. So what I'm gonna do now is pull it towards the back of the car to get it off the studs of the downpipe, and we can get the stock midpipe off the car. All right, so we got the stock exhaust out. Very, very happy that everything went smoothly. Didn't strip any bolts or anything like that. And the active is gonna be so much easier to install since it's in 3 different pieces as opposed to this giant midpipe. So let's go over some of the differences. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanna go over a few things. Now, as you can tell, the stock midpipe is 2 different pipes. There's 2 resonators and then 1 giant resonator in the middle here. Active Autowerke single midpipe. Single midpipe from the downpipe all the way back until you get to this section where it splits off into the muffler section. No resonators at all. You can get this with a resonator, but if you're running a stock downpipe, people always say get the non-resonated version. If you're running a downpipe, get the resonated version. And the main reason is once you put a downpipe on with a non-resonated midpipe, it gets super raspy, and vice versa. So go with the non-resonated if you just want to keep it simple. You plan on keeping the stock downpipes, at least for now. So that is what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna pair this up with the stock competition muffler for now. We'll probably change it over to a Dynon or a Remus exhaust sometime down the line or something different, we will see. But for now, this is a massive difference and I want to experience this before I move on to anything else. But you can just tell the overall quality and everything is just 3 times better. And I'm really excited to get this on. Also, I'm excited that it's gonna be less work to put this in than that, because that thing is pretty darn heavy and it's 1 single piece and it's kind of a pain in the butt to maneuver. But if you saw me taking off the exhaust or pulling it out back, what you actually need to do, they actually say it in the instructions, is to jack up the back of the exhaust so the entire midpipe is level and in its place where it normally is, and then it slides off the studs of the downpipe very easily. If you try to pull it off when the rear of the midpipe is down, it will not come off. You're gonna struggle and you're probably gonna break something. So just use another jack or box or something to lift up the back of the muffler, or sorry, the midpipe, to get it nice and level, and it slides right off the studs. So now what we're actually gonna do is transfer over the exhaust hangers onto the active. All you simply do is pop them off and put them in the same orientation as they are on here. Because if you look on the back here, this has a specific orientation of how this one goes in. And same thing with this one. You wanna make sure it goes in the same place. Obviously position the exhaust exactly how it's gonna go in the car. So all you gotta do is just mount it up, zip these on, and you're good to go. Now, as for connection points, Active actually supplies everything. The smaller ones, the ones that are rounded, go on the section over here, and the larger, I believe these are 6-inch, I believe, clamps go from the end of the midpipe to the muffler. So again, if you screw up the cut a little bit, it's not that big of a deal because these clamps are huge. There's actually some room for movement. So either way, it's gonna get sealed up nice and tight. So it's not too big of a problem, but obviously try to make your cut as even and close to the 1.5 inch as possible. All right, enough chatting. This took about 45 minutes to an hour to take out. Hopefully this goes a little bit quicker since it's in pieces and we can get this thing on and see what it sounds like. All right, sorry, I got the fan on. It's like 90 degrees in here, so you're gonna have to bear with me. A little tip and trick to get exhaust hangers off of an exhaust. Yes, you can use an exhaust hanger wrench. I used to have one, but it broke and I forgot I didn't have it. So I had to improvise, but this little trick that I've been doing for years works very well, and I figured I would show you guys. So you're gonna need 2 screwdrivers, one kind of thin and long one, and then a larger one that you're gonna use to pry with. So what you're actually gonna do is take the screwdriver, the skinny one, slip it all the way through so it gets to the other side. And then you're gonna take the larger screwdriver use the thin screwdriver's head as a pry point and then push, and it's gonna slide over the little nub and come right off. All right, so we got all the exhaust hangers off the stock exhaust, transferred over to the active. So now what we're actually gonna do is start installing the larger mid-pipe. We're gonna connect this to the downpipe using the 4 11mm nuts. Then we're gonna connect or bolt up the hanger bolts, which are right there. And then we'll move on to the brace so this can be supported and then kind of work our way back. So let's get under the car, get this installed. It is super hot in here and I can't wait to hear this thing. All right, so we got all the nuts just hand tight. Don't do them snug yet. We're gonna leave everything loose and then position it once we got everything on. And also I have the hanger, the transmission hanger on loosely as well. So there's enough maneuverability to be able to kind of put it in the right spot. So now let's get the little bracket on right here, the one that Active supplied, and then move out back. All right, the brace is in place, just hand tight. I didn't tighten them down yet, obviously. I'm going to now move on to the rear section. So let's do the driver's side first and then do the passenger. All right, so we're at the rear of the car. This is the driver's side. What I'm gonna do is put the hanger up so it's in the correct spot so I don't have to hold it up, and then put it onto that pipe. And we're gonna use one of the rounded clamps, slip it over, and it's going to seal it up since it is a beveled kind of rounded bracket, or clamp I should say, and it's going to seal the pipes up onto this one. So let's get that in and get it in place. All right, so we got those rounded clamps on. Kind of a pain in the butt because you got to get them in the right spot in order for them to seal properly. I didn't tighten them too tight, but enough that they're going to hold. So now we can move on to the rear section. As you can see, I have it butted up right against the exhaust, or the muffler I should say. So let's go ahead and get those long clamps, slip them on, and then we can position everything and tighten it all down. All right, so we got these slip-on clamps. They went on no problem. I positioned the nuts kind of facing down, but to the side, so obviously it's nice and clean. And to my surprise, the tips are already in perfect spot. I didn't tighten anything down yet, so let me go ahead and start tightening things down. I'm gonna work my way back from the downpipe. Obviously, you wanna make sure that there's a space between the bracket there and the mid-pipe, so hold it up as you're tightening it down. Make sure there's enough gap. And then you can kind of just move your way to the back, make sure the tips are lined up, and we are good to go. All right, guys, all finished. Everything is installed. I end up wiping it down with some IPA to get all my fingerprints off, and absolutely perfect. One thing you want to make sure is the passenger side pipe. You want to make sure there's enough clearance between the diff and the actual pipe. I moved it around just to make sure, and it's not going to hit, so we are good. Also, plenty of clearance between the bracket and the mid pipe. Kind of hard to get the angle, but if you can see, sorry, I'm far away from the mic, plenty of clearance, so we're good there. Before you lower the car and kind of clean everything up, obviously you want to check for leaks, but also kind of put your hand around the area, make sure it's not touching anything, and you know, that it's clear and it's not going to rattle against any piece. But super happy. The tips are nice and even. Everything lines up very, very nice, and it looks beautiful under there. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the garage. I'm gonna catch back up with you tomorrow, most likely, with the startup, and obviously let you guys hear this thing. Alright guys, so I've been driving around for the past few days, enjoying the exhaust, absolutely love it. There's a lot more volume under acceleration, obviously in the startup with the valves open. It really does sound fantastic. I think it's a great option if you want something daily drivable, but you still want to keep the valves and you want to keep it as simple as possible and not go too crazy. Driving under normal circumstances with the competition exhaust, honestly, it almost sounds like stock, just cruising on the highway, cruising on normal speeds and everything. It sounds pretty darn good. But when you want it to sound pretty loud, you most certainly can do that. There's a lot of sound deadening inside, so it kind of dulls down the overall volume when you're inside, so it's kind of a perfect happy medium. Although for me, I definitely think I'm going to add some type of muffler to make it a little bit louder, just because I do like my cars a little bit louder. Overall, I'm very, very happy with the overall fit, finish, and obviously sound. I think it looks fantastic and obviously really kind of opens up the S55 and gives it a much better sound than stock. It doesn't have that annoying raspy kind of vacuum sound anymore. It really, really sounds like a proper M car now. Now here's the fitment on the tips in the rear. It is clearing the diffuser, no problem. I just wanted to show you that obviously because we are obviously adjusting the exhaust, you know, moving around the mid-pipe a little bit. So as long as your cuts are straight, you're going to be just fine and it's going to line up perfectly. So yes, I will be doing a separate video of doing flybys, of doing, you know, real sound check with the exhaust. Also, I'm going to do a comparison. I already filmed some videos with the stock exhaust or stock mid-pipe, so you guys can hear the comparison between the two, because it is a pretty darn big difference. When I first started up for the first time on the cold start, I was absolutely shocked how much louder the car is overall. It really has a lot of bass, a lot of tone, and I was really happy immediately as soon as I started it. But I figured I would give you some sound clips, give you an idea of what this thing sounds like in this video, because I understand there's nothing more terrible than seeing someone install exhaust and not being able to hear it. So I at least wanted to give you some sound clips, give you an idea of what this thing actually sounds like under load, and just kind of driving around a little bit, just giving you a little bit of an example, and then we'll do a proper video doing a sound comparison, obviously doing flybys and everything, so you can really hear this thing scream. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions at all about the active Autowerke single mid-pipe or anything else on the M3, please let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.